Tokyo, 1998. On a cold November night, Toshio Kawamura was walking through the crowded Shinjuku neighborhood after a long day at work at a major financial company. Toshio, 32, had recently rented a small apartment in an old building called Himiko Heights, which was rumored to be haunted by locals. When he arrived at the building, he noticed that the light outside was flickering strangely, as if the electricity was unstable. He ignored it and climbed the stairs to the fourth floor of his apartment. But with every step, he felt as if someone was watching him. The first night, a voice on the wall in the middle of the night, Toshio woke up to a faint, whispering sound coming from the adjacent wall. He thought it was just the effects of fatigue and stress, but when he tried to go back to sleep, he heard the sound again, this time closer and clearer. "Get out of here! Get out before it's too late." He jumped out of bed, his heart pounding violently. He tried to convince himself that it was just an illusion, but when he looked at the wall, he saw a small black spot slowly growing, like a damp spot, but it was moving. Warning from the old neighbor. The next day, as he was leaving his apartment for work, he met his old neighbor, Mr. Ono, who had lived in the building for over 30 years. The old man said to him in a trembling voice, "Did you hear the whispers?" Toshio froze. He hadn't told anyone what had happened. The old man smiled sadly and added, "Everyone who lived in your apartment heard it, and none of them stayed for more than a month." When Toshio asked him why, he told him a terrifying story. 20 years ago, a girl named Mai Nakamura lived in this apartment. She was an ambitious college student, but she suddenly disappeared under mysterious circumstances. When the police entered her apartment, they found its walls covered with strange messages written in red, as if they were warnings or cries for help. The walls themselves were said to bleed sometimes, and that everyone who lived there afterward either disappeared or lost their minds. The third night, the terrifying truth. Toshio decided to ignore the warnings, but on the third night, he was awakened again by strange sounds. This time, it wasn't just a whisper, but the sound of footsteps approaching his bed. He felt an unnatural coldness sweep through the room, and when he turned around, he saw in the corner of the room a pale woman with distorted features and long, wet hair covering her face. She whispered in a hoarse voice, "Help me! Don't leave me alone!" He tried to scream, but his body was paralyzed with fear. Suddenly, the lights went out, and he felt a cold hand touch his face. When the lights came back on, he found nothing, but the black spot on the wall had gotten bigger, as if it was slowly swallowing him. The next day, Toshio had completely disappeared. No one found any trace of him, except for his cell phone, which was on the floor next to the bed, displaying an incomprehensible message. "You took me? Don't come here." A month later, the apartment was rented to someone else, and the whispers started again.